What's going on, Reef Builders? Jake Adams here, and I am in Abu Dhabi, about an hour outside of Dubai, and I have been lucky enough to spend some time with an amazing reef tank. Also fed some really great food by an amazing host, Faisal. So we're gonna take a look at his tank, check out some really beautiful corals, some really great equipment, and a lot of really custom tricks. So let's go take a look. All right, so here we have Faisal and his reef tank. Faisal, thanks for having me over, buddy.
Nice to meet you, Jake.
So yeah, this is a really awesome reef tank. Just a true masterpiece now, and it's going to be quite a showstopper in the future. And people are not going to believe your journey to get here and just exactly how old this tank is. So what is the volume of this aquarium?
It's around 220 gallons with the sump.
220 gallons, 850 liters with the sump. And one of the things that's really awesome about it is that you can see it from all three sides. So you have a really classic aquascape in here. How many pounds of rock do you think you have?
Around 50 kgs maybe, or
so
80.
50 kilos, that's gonna be, man, I just don't even know where to start. This tank is packed full of corals. It looks like a really mature reef tank, but this tank is actually really young. Tell us, how old is this setup specifically, just what we're looking at?
I started end of October.
End of October. So we're looking at a reef tank that's just a scratch over 6 months old. Can you guys believe that? And when you see all the equipment on here, you're gonna kind of understand the level of sophistication that this guy has. But this journey started for you about a year ago, right?
Exactly, I started reefing last April.
So this is a 1-year-old infant reefer right here, just a 1-year-old, but you've really applied yourself and really crushed what you're supposed to do for a reef tank. So tell us, how did you start piecing this tank together before you even had the aquarium?
Actually, the reef tank I was having in a big bucket.
So probably a vat, what we would call a vat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And first I bought the live rock.
Okay.
I kept them there, said let me cycle the live rock first while building this tank. Then I said, okay, I have the equipment. Why don't use the bucket itself to put the corals in? So I fill up that vat.
Very cool. And this is an Acropora dominated tank.
Yep.
You like acros specifically? I see you have a couple bird's nests, but you seem to be an acro man.
Yeah, I love them. I love softies, but I cannot add a lot because I'm using high bar light.
Right. Very nice. So you're, like I was saying, your aquascape, you've got a nice kind of classic open sandy area, some rock here, some shelves up on the sides, and as customary, one thing I like to do before we just dive in completely into livestock is let's take a look at the equipment. How about we take a look at the sump first, then the light, then the accessory room?
Sure.
That sound good?
Sounds
All
good.
right. So as we can see, this is quite a sophisticated system, and you can tell that you have some engineering chops in your blood, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your selection of equipment here. What is the protein skimmer running this tank?
It's a Bubble King Supermarine.
Bubble King Supermarine?
The new model is 2018 one.
the 2018 version?
Yeah, and
Got an automatic neck cleaner?
Yes.
Is that a Roll exclusive model also?
It's Aqua Drive.
Aqua Driver, okay.
And I fit a sensor for it. If the cup is full, I will receive an email. If the sump, the water in the sump get high, I will receive an email and shut off the skimmer. The socks, even if it's full, I will receive an email.
Cool.
Everything I can control through Apex.
And you have, let's see, you have 3 different reactors.
Yeah.
You've got carbon, GFO, and biopellets, right?
Yes.
And these are batch C reactors, it looks like?
Those are Barcia.
Okay, so one thing that's really interesting is, you're using a generous amount of GFO and activated carbon, but a really modest amount of biopellets. And one of the things that really stands out is not just the manifold that you've created for these, but gate valve manifold. So you can really dial in the flow rate through them.
It makes tuning much easier.
So one thing that I find just almost hard to believe is that this is your first tank, and it looks like you got everything right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those things
This
that
is the
people...
first Reef tank I built. Actually, the second tank I built, because the first tank I built is a marine tank. This is the second tank I built.
So normally it takes people years and years to come to understand like the equipment and what they want. And but yeah, it really seems like you got it on the first try. Your sump is immaculate. Who built the sump?
Actually, the glass of the sump is made by aquarium manufacturer. The acrylic itself, I draw everything and send it to advertisement company. They cut the acrylic and I come back home and I glue everything here.
Oh, so you made the sump and designed it.
Everything.
Yeah, I really like your style. You know, you could have used just a glass tank, but you made an acrylic frame and you put glass windows in it.
Yes.
Super freaking cool. And you know what? This is the kind of level of attention to detail that I freaking love. You just built a filter sock for the outflow of your GFO because you don't want granules polluting your sump, correct?
Yeah. I built the bracket actually last week at home here.
Very nice. And it looks like you're using the Triton method for most of your dosing.
Yeah, I'm using other method called 7.
Okay.
I'm dosing 35 ml daily. And the rest I'm relying and I have a Destaco reactor with the filtration.
Very nice. So yeah, just gonna pan a little bit more in here so people can get a really cool look. And then you get a couple more gate valve right there so you can get some, put a little bit back pressure and make it super quiet.
Yep.
This is actually something that you can't hear, but it's silent. This sump is completely silent, really quiet. This is a sump and a system after my own heart, for sure. Now let's take a look at your accessory room and then we'll give a look at the lights. So Faisal, tell me about this accessory room here that you have underneath the stairs, and it seems to have a lot of the other super necessary life support for your tank.
So I'm keeping my RODI system here, and also I have, you see the long UV below, using a pair of water UV.
And one thing that's really cool about your UV is you have a flow meter on there.
Yeah, exactly.
And having specific flow rates for your UV sterilizer is one of the most critical applications that you can really know the flow for.
Exactly.
Very nice. And then moving along, you have a Destaco calcium reactor.
Yeah, T2 I'm using.
And that's supplementing 35 mLs of Triton that you're using.
Yeah, so whenever I want to adjust the consumption or I want to increase it, I increase it through Destaco.
Very nice. How often do you find yourself tweaking it?
Once a month, maybe.
Once a month? Okay, that's really cool. And you have a brand new product right there from Triton. It's the ICP tested, guaranteed pure carbon dioxide to go into the Destaco reactors and make sure you have no contaminants whatsoever. Looks like we have, is it Red Sea, is that what you use for your salt?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't do water changes unless it shows an ICP test that I need to do a water change.
Awesome. And is that your RO vat back there or your saltwater mixing vat?
Salt water mixing vat. So whenever I want to do water change, I will mix up there and I can pump it directly to the tank.
Very cool. And then you have a T-code chiller. Is that actually venting out through the wall?
Yes.
Holy crap. What model is that? Is that a half horsepower chiller?
It's an 1, I think.
1 horsepower?
Yeah,
TK2000. Yeah, so Tico makes some really great chillers. Man, I love just how clean it continues to be over here. And I just have to show you guys how this is routed all the way over to the tank. He's got a conduit of basically lines and tubing that just kind of runs along the wall all the way to the tank. And this is just one of those things that you wouldn't even see, you wouldn't even think about unless someone pointed it out. All right, so a great looking reef tank like this has to have a really awesome lighting solution. And you know, there's a couple tricks here on this tank that Faisal has put together himself. So you wanna pop open that canopy and show us what you got? This is really a treat. So, what do we have here? What are we looking at here?
I have 2 ATI fixture, 6 bulbs each. I have my DIY LED lights. I'm using Cree LED. I'm using the blue lights as a supplement at night or early morning.
Okay. So what's interesting is that those LEDs are on right now just for the video primarily.
Yes.
But you use them for the dawn to dusk simulation.
Yes.
All right. So before we dive into those, what T5 bulbs are you using?
I'm using mostly blue plus,
Blue plus,
one set of actinic in each fixture,
couple actinics,
and one purple,
one purple,
and one color plus.
one color plus. And this is super freaking cool because there's two fixtures here, but you have your own kind of re-engineered controller.
Yeah, so whenever I want to adjust the light or turning on the light, I should go up and adjust it from here. So I said, let me extend each wire, and I made my own controller box, and I fixed them both the same.
So in case you didn't catch that, Faisal has basically gutted the controller from both ATIs, extended the wires, put them in his own enclosure, and it's just custom, basically refitted for your height and for accessibility, correct?
Yes.
All right, so that's one custom thing. There's a couple more, there's three more, right? So then these LED strips you made yourself, and right now we're only looking at just a handful of warm whites. This thing's gotta be freaking amazing when you go all LED.
Yeah.
And you can see he's got his own little heat sink in there and a very small fan, probably just, just kind of helping a little bit, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's the second custom thing about that fixture. You wanna show us, one of the major tricks that it can do?
Yeah.
This is freaking awesome.
With T5s, that.
Faisal, you're gonna be a legend. You're gonna be a legend for this tray right here. Look at that, you guys. The
It's
whole
easy to do maintenance,
light
clean,
fixture
check the types.
is like is that a drawer? It's like a
Yes.
drawer rack?
Yeah, actually I brought those sliders with me from US.
All right, so basically you have this entire light fixture array, both fixtures including your custom DIY LEDs on this giant sliding, like a drawer bracket.
Yes.
Very nice. And here you can kind of get a better look at how he's modified the built-in controller and put them in his own enclosure. What material is this? Is it acrylic?
Yeah, it's acrylic.
Very cool. And why did you do this? Why did you do this? I mean, there's some obvious reasons, but...
Every 8 months I have to change the tubes, and I have a very deep tank, so if I want to change those tubes and having trouble, it will be very hard actually. And to clean. Also, if I want to glue or remove any of the corals, because this slides every direction.
Okay. Yeah, it also slides front to back, right?
Left, right, front to back, everywhere.
Very cool. So that's an interesting point, and something we don't think about too much anymore is since you're using T5s, they lose brightness. How long are you running them, and how bright are you running them?
I'm running them currently at 70%.
All the bulbs?
All the bulbs.
Okay, and how long?
8 hours a day.
Eight for all the channels?
All the channels.
Do you have them like spaced out a little bit, or do you have them all on, all off?
Take them half an hour just to increase to 70%. Okay.
And then there's one more little cool piece of aquarium trickery, because you're a busy man, you can't always be here. So you have modified your automatic feeder system, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
First of all, I modified the bracket. I'm using magnet.
Okay.
The second thing, in order to put it in the corner, I don't want to go in a lot.
Right.
Okay, because it will block the light. So I bring a USB extension cable, and I cut it, and I weld each wire, and I did the input from the side.
So similar to what you did to the ATI fixture, you've basically pulled out, but this time it's not a controller, just the connectors.
Yes.
Very, very nice. So here's a nice little look from up top. And another thing that's actually really hard to see from the front is you got a couple sea swirls.
Yeah, I love it.
You know what? I'm not the biggest fan of sea swirls, but the way that you have them installed is epic. Just like the perfect place to put them. Looks like you get a couple returns here plumb through the wall, correct?
Yeah.
And are those, all four of those, just part of your returns?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you using for your return flow?
I have 10,000 liter Red Dragon pump.
Red Dragon pump.
Yeah.
All right, let's close that up and talk about the corals a little bit more.
Yeah.
So how about you tell me about some of your fish, because there's some really awesome specimens in here.
Yeah, especially the lineatus.
So,
yeah.
So the lineatus wrasse, we get weekly, almost daily shipments from Australia in the United States. Yeah. But here in Abu Dhabi, in the Gulf Coast countries, this is a lot more rare fish, right?
Yeah.
A lot harder to get. So that's one of your favorites?
Actually, my favorite is the Royal Grama fish.
The Royal Grama. I've been looking at that guy all day, and he's just such a stunning specimen. Just real big and huge pelvic fins. I'm real glad you like that fish too. Tell me about some of the others.
I have a pair of golden maroon clownfish with the lightning maroon. Actually, they lay eggs 2 days ago in the back.
Okay. So that's a big gold nugget maroon, and you know what? I haven't seen the lightning maroon at all, so I'm guessing it's guarding the eggs in the back.
Yeah.
And here's a close-up of that amazing lineotosaurus. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? He flashes as soon as I put the camera down. Oh, there we go. Gave us one. That's awesome. Very cool. You know, let's see, what else do we have? Nice regal blue tang. Flame wrasse is also kind of a rarity in these parts. Nice rhomboid. Is it 1 or 2 rhomboids in there?
1.
Okay, 1 rhomboid.
Yeah.
Got a few yellow wrasses. You've got to like your wrasses, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love wrasses.
And then the Borbonius. The Borbonius, you know, is just really hangs off to the side, a little bit easy to kind of forget, but there he is, just in all of its glory and splendor. And you know what? Flame hawk, man. This flame hawk is really nice.
I like
really
the personality
personable.
of this fish.
Yeah, he just sits there, looks around, looks awesome. And this, you know, when they perch right there under corals, like he's doing right this minute, it's just so freaking natural. This is what they do in the wild, usually with some larger colonies. But, you know, truly, you know what? Really awesome fish collection.
And I have my watchman.
Oh yeah, the jawfish, the blue spotted jawfish.
Yeah.
I got a good look at him earlier. And you know what? Let's end on the kind of a classic note. You've got a bunch, no, not a bunch, but a pair of clownfish over here, and they're hosting in flower pot corals, right?
Yeah, nude it actually.
Very nude, very, very, very nice. So those are both Picassos, right?
I think, yeah, it's those Picasso.
They got a bunch of different grades. And what about the black guy, the Darwin Ocellaris? Is he part of the family, or did you just kind of hang around?
My daughter loves it, and she called him Panda.
Oh, Panda! What a great one. And actually, if I can zoom in a little bit, you can see they have some clutch of eggs. It's probably, what, a week or 2 old?
This is the 5th day.
5th day, right.
Yeah.
They don't last 2 weeks. That was just silly.
Yeah.
But anyway, those eggs look like they're ready to hatch almost any day now. And just an amazing cluster of flower pots that they live in. So cool to see. I'm gonna point out a couple clams. Just a couple clams in this tank. A nice little hippopus here on the corner. And then we've got a crochet and a nice classic Maxima clam. All right, so before we dive into all the obvious SPS, let's just do a little roundup of some of the corals you got here on the bottom. Alongside the clam, you have a few different donut corals.
Yeah.
Looks like you got a Leptoceras and a Pectinia there in the shade. Nice big Lord coral. And like a Laker scroll style Turbinaria, it looks like.
Yes.
And this is like your master in
Yeah,
Acanthophila. That's a stunning specimen. But honestly, this big patch of Florida Recordia you have here is really, really out of this world. This is one of your favorites, isn't it?
The yellow one.
Yeah.
The yellow one, you can see it on top.
The yellow Recordia Florida is your favorite.
Yes.
See, for me, I like them all. You know, they're orange, they're pink, red. That yellow one is your favorite. But just the way you have them all assembled, and they're just doing and looking super, super nice. And I just want to remind everybody, this tank is 6 months old. Got a little patch of zoanthids right there in the middle, and even more Recordia. It's kind of like a rainbow Recordia, right?
Yeah.
Little orange, little green. Super cool. So I'm just gonna let you point out some of your favorites. Let's start out with those bird's nests, because you've got to love them to have them so prominently placed.
Fiji, I got this one before they stopped sending calls from Fiji. So I think this is the last bird nest entered the UAE.
All right, and you got some classic green bird's nests?
Yeah.
All right, and what do we have here?
I love millies.
Millies,
I love all the acropora that has polyps. I love polyps.
You love that polyp extension. So
Yes.
here's another millie with a pretty shaggy branches.
Yeah.
Very cool. And while I'm here, I want to point out the pair of gold nugget / lightning maroon clownfish. You can see that one male, probably because it's smaller, is sitting on some eggs.
Yeah.
But what's more important is you actually kind of have a clearing behind the rocks, so just to make sure you get adequate water flow throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also would like to point out that you're using 2 of the Neptune Systems wave pump tied in with the controller, just right there, just prominently on the side. Makes for great water flow, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. So yeah, just walk me through a few more of your corals you got here.
I have strawberry shortcake. I got it
Strawberry
as
shortcake.
small. Actually, it's growing really fast.
It should with all the light you have in here.
Yeah.
And to the right of it is a Florida acro.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, is that a bonsai or
Yes.
just like a wild coral?
No, it's a bonsai.
So you got the Garth bonsai,
And green slimer, the famous green slimer.
classic green slimer. And do you know the name of that digitata up there in the back?
Actually, no.
That is a classic German blue polyp digitata, not to be confused with the purple digitata. So that coral is actually kind of like tan brown with blue polyps, blue lavender polyps, but you know, it is actually distinct from a solid purple.
This one was a 3-inch frag when I put it here.
6 months ago?
6 months ago.
So you've grown it that big in just
That's
6
really
months.
Fast, yeah. This is one of the fastest corals I have.
Wow. And you know, just to the left of the shortcake, big, beautiful, classic Suharsenoi. It's just, you know, that I have a coral. I have a Suharsenoi colony. Very simple, I mean, exact shape and stuff. To that one, not quite as big, but the same placement. Mine is right in the middle, kind of about halfway, a little bit shaded from the corals above. What a perfect place for that
Thank
coral. And then you can see you have
Pink lemonade they have in the center.
right.
I got it a small frank from a friend.
There's a pink lemonade and a big shaggy millie to the right of it. And then it just kind of becomes a nice forest of staghorns all the way to the back. A lot of different colors. Is that an Austera right there? Green with the purple tips? What do you call that? Miyagi tort style?
The Mega Tort is this one, which I have.
Yeah, I thought that was a Miyagi tort. I was testing you. I was just testing you. Very neat. And you know, come around and wrap it up. We already got a good look at a lot of these flower pots. Acantophilia. This is your shuffling area, isn't it? This is where you kind of get new stuff and you put it in here and you just let it chill. Yes. Very cool. So it's also cool to point out that, man, this tank is beautiful from so many different angles. And you have a frag tank that you know, do most of your coral playing with in another room.
Yes.
That's cool. I think that pretty much helps keep this tank cleaner and neater.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not...
Quarantine tank is a must for me.
So that's also your quarantine tank over in the other room?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I hadn't realized that. So all the new corals you get, they go in there first.
Yeah.
See, that's another big one to make sure to keep the parasites out of the tank. Man, what a freaking masterpiece. So Faisal, man, it's been an absolutely honor to come to your home, enjoy a meal with you.
Thank you.
That big old pile of lamb was something else, lamb brains. Whew, that was an experience for sure. But coming back to the tank, this is just a phenomenal level of success for a tank of this age. Just 6 months old.
Yeah.
What I think helped with this tank was that you knew exactly what you were going to do.
Yeah.
Because most people, when they start the reef aquarium hobby, they start simple and they experiment with this and they experiment with that.
They buy everything.
And they buy all the wrong things and they just go back and forth. But you had a plan, you had the good plan, good route, and it's led you here. And I can't even imagine what this tank is going to be like in another 6 months. But one thing I like to do for all my videos is just ask every of these master reefers, you know, what is one piece of advice that you would like to impart on the viewers of this video?
There is actually one thing which I'm doing here, that I don't put my hand in at all. If one coral fall down or something, I have to move it, I keep it. Unless other coral or something is a must to put my hand in to remove it. I have to keep it clean and safe.
How do you have the discipline to keep your hands out of the tank?
Don't look at that and go to the right tank.
So what gave you that idea to not put your hands in the tank?
Because sometimes when all the waivers are off or either retain pump is off, when you put your hand, you will see some oil, something floating at the top. And also, the first Triton test I did I was having higher zinc.
Higher zinc.
Yeah, and one of the causes is lotions or anything. So I'm thinking that even if I wash my hand, to not be clean enough to put it inside the tank. So I said from now on, I'm not putting my hand on.
All right, well that's a really awesome philosophy to have. This tank is going to circle the globe. You know, people are going to watch this tank. They're going to come up and take selfies with you at the reef shows because this guy gets around. You know, he's been to Macna at least once. Yeah. Met him last year in
hopefully.
Where was it last year? In New Orleans. Yes. Met you last year in New Orleans, and man, it really looks like this tank is on path for success. You know, people know that I can be a critic sometimes. This is one of those few tanks where I'm just like, you just do you. You're just killing it. So thank you so much for having me over.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
So I hope you guys have really enjoyed this tour of Faisal's reef tank. This is an amazing system. It's got all the bells and whistles, but it's got the right bells and whistles, and I love his advice of keeping his hands out of the tank. This tank is only 6 months old. I just can't believe it. I don't think many people are gonna believe it. Obviously there was some conditioning and some acquisition that happened for 6 months before, but my homeboy has been in the reef aquarium hobby for just a scratch over a year, started last year in April, and this obviously drives home the importance of doing your research, doing things right from the start, and as you can see, the results, absolutely speak for themselves. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. I'm gonna get Faisal to answer the comments and questions on this video. So if you got questions, put them down below. And as always, if you wanna see some of the best reef tanks from around the world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification icon so you never miss another video from myself at Reef Builders. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.